Welcome to Healing the System. I'm your host, Leigh Roberson. In our very first episode, I'm thrilled to introduce you to Sally, a professional playmaker and the owner of PlayMore Charlotte. Join us for the next hour as we explore the importance of regulating our nervous systems through play. Okay, so let me ask you this.
Ask me.
We were designated with a task, but how good are you at staying on task?
I'm actually really good at staying on task.
Okay, cool.
But I can also abandon the task for a more interesting task if need be.
No, I was
because the task is not critical.
I was just genuinely curious. Yeah. Some people I
have a very checklist brain.
Okay.
And I've found as a very creative person that my brand of neurodiversity is not common among creative people.
What? Okay, tell me more.
I feel like a lot of the people that I've worked with, especially so far through PlayMore, either identify as or have been diagnosed with ADHD and have this very sort of mind map way of thinking. And I have a very bullet point list, check the boxes way of thinking.
Okay.
So that's been a real adventure.
Do you consider yourself neurodivergent?
Maybe. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. I feel like my brain works quite differently than a lot of people. So maybe, but it's not an identifier that is necessarily important or critical to me.
Yeah.
And also having worked with a lot of children with autism throughout my life, I'm if I am neurodivergent, it has not been disruptive to me at all. It has only been an asset.
So that's the key there. I think what you said is, I think so many people literally look at neurodivergency, especially an older generation, right, as a problem or something to be fixed. And
which it's not. So that's a good point.
It's not. And so I think that the more that I've been exposed to it, because I was diagnosed with ADHD in 6th grade.
Okay.
But I also had a traumatic childhood. And so my therapist a couple of years ago was no, you have PTSD, which can be a crossover.
That makes sense.
But I for sure have ADHD. Once I started working through the PTSD and the trauma, I'm better at concentrating. I'm better at keeping focus and those kind of things. Yet, I can hyperfocus and I can get excitable and all these other things that aren't necessarily just ADHD, right? It's just humanity.
Right. Yeah.
It's just humanness. But my mom's ADHD. I know that I am after even talking to other friends and stuff like that. But one thing I've noticed is getting more into the world of autism is of course, there's different trends on TikTok and everyone's talking about different things.
Yeah.
But right now, so many people are discovering that they're ADHD and autistic and that there's more autistic factors that are coming out, which are the scientific way of thinking, very, very clear cut, might even seem kind of some people don't care that much.
Right.
But
that may affect emotional expression.
Emotional expression, yes, exactly. But what I'm realizing is that in fact, the majority of my friends either are ADHD, autistic, or both.
Yeah.
And so we typically attract each other. But that's what I kind of love about life in learning is that right now I'm coming to a place where I feel I can create a safe space for people to know that neurodivergency isn't something to be fixed. In fact, it can bring more diversity to life.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And you can think of, I would say a lot of people that are neurodivergent are extremely good at problem solving. Have you seen anything like that?
So while protecting people's privacy, I have a lot of people with dyslexia in my family. And I myself do not have dyslexia, but I have relatives who are dyslexic who are incredibly creative problem solvers and who also just notice or are able to distinguish among things that I may not be able to.
Sure.
Purely because their brain circuits and wires differently than mine does. And it's absolutely fascinating. And is 100% an asset, not a deficit.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah. That's something that I want to keep I don't know, pressing forward with and having conversations about just opening people's minds to understand that it actually can be really beautiful. And it's taught me in different situations how to communicate better. And because everyone communicates differently.
Yeah.
And so practicing like really learning and honing in on like, okay, I, through my lens of childhood or what I've been through, interpreted what this person said one way.
Yeah.
And I might react in a certain way. Isn't necessarily the way to go all the time. Like we have the ability to cognitively pause and say, you know what? I don't think we're communicating the same way.
Yeah.
How can I adjust if you have capacity?
Yeah.
How can I adjust and learn something new? So I personally, through different experiences with other people that are neurodivergent, have learned how to communicate better, which has been, honestly, communication is like, I would say, one of my favorite things on this planet because it connects us with others.
I agree with that. Right? Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's interesting for me specifically with like the autism label. And I think this is sort of what I'm getting at when I talk about neurodivergent. Yeah. To me, I don't think of it necessarily as a negative. Yeah. But when I think about the vast spectrum of children that I've worked with over the years that like, you know, were diagnosed with autism, most of them at an early age, and this presented in like vastly different ways for all of them. And it came with its struggles and with its like really, really cool, unique facets and that sort of thing. But I almost feel like sometimes these identifiers, like these identity labels, help people find community, right? And help them find sometimes help them find the support that they need, which I've experienced, you know, in other ways and with other labels. But for that one in particular, I think because I've worked with so many children that like did need support that was specific to like finding a home within that word and that label, that for me, I feel like because I haven't had, I'm trying to think of how to word it, because I haven't had the, almost like I haven't been ostracized the way that they were ostracized. I haven't had the like misfortune of teachers that totally dismissed me like they had. You know what I mean? So I think in some ways I feel like that's not a label I have earned. I don't know if that,
interesting.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it almost feels for me like that category should be protected in some way. And I know that sounds gatekeepy, but I mean it for myself. Yeah. I mean, like if I haven't had to like seek services, or if I don't feel that I've had to mask, like if my version of quirkiness has just always kind of been accepted, then for me, I think that's why I've never really fully leaned in like to the word neurodivergent for myself. Yeah. Because I'm like, I don't know that I need it to find like acceptance and community, and other people might. Sure. And I know it's not pie, right? Like anybody can who can use that label. But I think for me, like that's sort of where it's at, where I'm like, that's something that I don't necessarily need right now, and somebody else might. And so it's like a term that I respect in that way. Sure. If that makes sense.
No, I think that's really good. I love that. So one thing you mentioned was that you have like this way of thinking.
Yes.
Very
bullet point.
Okay, so tell me about this ball pit and how you keep it clean, because
the ball pit does not look like a bullet point person.
No, it doesn't.
Right? Okay, so first of all, I feel that I should say that despite being like a meticulously organized thinker, I also love stuff. Okay. And I've always loved stuff. Yes. Like I had like a really intense eraser collection as a child, but it was like very meticulously organized.
Wait, hold on though.
By the time we're done with this, you're going to be like, you have autism.
Which I am here for.
Like other people have told me that before. And I'm like, it's fine if I do. Anyway. I digress. I mean, you were in my house moments ago. There's a lot of stuff in there, but I like treasure my stuff. Yeah. And I know for a lot of people, they're like, that's materialistic and like minimalism is more significant to me. And I'm like, that's so great for you. I love that for you. Yeah. I love stuff. I love a junk mall. So for me, like, I think I skew like I prefer more stimulation. Like, I'm sensory seeking in that way, whether it's like colors or things to touch or like music. Yeah. And so for me, this is just like, I can play, I can sink in it, I can kick in it. But at the same time, like I don't want it to be a Chuck E. Cheese ball pit with like a rogue pepperoni in it and, you know,
I'm literally
urine and vomit and fluids. None of that has ever been in here. Sorry, I took you to a place that is not a place of peace. Just then.
I went to a really bad place. I think maybe I had some trauma at Chuck E. Cheese.
In a Chuck E. Cheese. Well, the animatronics were horrifying. They were really scary. And it was still Showbiz Pizza when I was little. So it was, which for some reason is like, I don't know, there's like a gray lens over Showbiz Pizza in my memory. It's sort of a scary place.
I think I might need to take this to my therapist. The way my stomach just
we need to unpack
gut, like
Chuck
we
E.
might
Cheese.
need to unpack Chuck E. Cheese.
I'm so sorry. Let me tell you how I cleaned this ball bed to make you feel safer.
Okay.
So the reason I even have a ball pit is because last year, right here in this very backyard,
Yes, tell us.
some friends and I had just been, living. And sometimes that's very hard to do. And I'm really, really fortunate to have a very multi-generational, multiracial friend group with like a lot of diversity in terms of like sexual orientation and like life experience and family structure. Yeah. And so with that comes like a lot of intersections of identity, a lot of intersections of like oppression and issues. And like we were dealing with some shit. Yeah. It was just bullshit of adulthood. And it was one of these things where like we all wanted to support each other and help each other, but some of us I haven't experienced racism. I'm a white woman. And so it's like we wanted to find a way to like connect and love on each other and support each other and meet each other at a place that would be like safe and happy for all of us. Yeah. And a friend of mine was like, you remember that day in PE class in elementary school where even the kids who didn't like PE were excited because you did the parachute?
I loved that thing.
Day.
Yes.
And we were all just like, oh, like that's what we want to get back to, right? We want to get back to that day. And I was like, we are grown adults. We can buy a parachute.
Please say that again.
And so we are grown adults. we can buy a parachute.
We can buy a parachute.
So we did. We bought a parachute and it started with just 5 of us. Yeah. And we had a play day in my backyard and we played with the parachute and we blew bubbles and we like colored and played board games, and it was in spring of 2023. And it was like just the most silly, low stakes, lovely healing thing. Yeah. And when we were done, we were like, we have to keep doing this. And over time, like throughout 2023, it grew. And one friend joked, we need a ball pit. And I was like, don't tell me you want a ball pit if you don't really want a ball pit. So I got on Facebook Marketplace. Yeah. And everyone in the world at that time, it seemed like, was trying to get rid of their ball pit balls. And I was like, great, super. I would love to take those off your hands for cheap to free. But also I'm like, ew, where has this been? So the ball pit balls were initially washed as I received them over months, right?
Got it.
So like with soap and bleach and water. Yeah. But then like as I've been expanding Playday out into the community as part of PlayMore Charlotte, the ball pit has kind of become like my mascot. Like I haul it around town with me, and it's an invitation for adults to do something silly that they don't ordinarily do, and like give themselves permission to not just survive, but to play and prioritize their own joy. And I want to keep it clean. I don't want it to be the Chuck E. Cheese moment that you were having, right? I want it to be fun, and I don't want people to be like, what's on me now? So when I loaded in, I typically, and I did all of this before you came today, I spray out the inside. Awesome. Or I wipe out the inside first with Clorox wipes. And then I do a layer of Lysol. And then I pour a layer of balls and I spray the layer of balls. And then I pour another layer and I spray the layer. And then I also do that when I take it out. So like last night I was at Activation Studios and as I was dumping in and taking out, everything just gets That's amazing. I'm keeping Lysol in business.
Thank you for that. I think that you healed my inner child a little bit.
So glad. So maybe that experience, tell your therapist, maybe it was germ related. Okay. Like maybe you got sick.
Maybe I did.
After you're in a ball pit.
Maybe that's why I have autoimmune issues.
Oh my God.
Did we just solve it?
Did we just figure out what the doctors couldn't wouldn't
They
for a year?
Couldn't/wouldn't. Oh man. Okay.
So it's really clean.
I'm going to jump in and make a slight adjustment on the audio. Just a moment here.
Well, thank you, kind sir.
I realize this. Fixing that in a lot.
Oh, yeah. That sounds good.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah. Everyone say hello to Luke.
Hi, Luke.
He's pretty chill.
Do I need to move the little pack in my pocket? Okay.
Okay. Cool. Cool. All right. So, right, inner child healing.
Yeah.
Cleanliness. When did you, there's a point here. When did you start this? Like, start procuring items for PlayMore? What year?
So 2023 is when I started doing play day just for friends in my backyard. And like it did slowly grow. I think I had like 4 or 5 of them in my backyard. And we would have, like 5 people, then 8 people, then 12 people. And I would always joke all throughout 2023. I was like, I should just quit my job and pursue play day full time.
Yeah.
Right.
That doesn't sound like a joke to me.
It was at the time though. I was just like anytime I had a long day at work, I was like, I just want to be a professional playmaker. But I already was sort of a professional playmaker. I was an elementary school STEM teacher.
Yeah.
I tell people, I was a professional Miss Frizzle and absolutely loved it. It was like the greatest job of all time.
Yeah.
But because I also have some really, what's even the best adjective? Some really exciting health issues. Exciting just isn't even vivid enough of a facetious adjective to use. I had a really, really intense medical experience earlier this year. Okay. And ultimately, it just like became very, very clear that I couldn't handle that level of germ exposure. I mean, I was seeing like 500-ish beloved children between the ages of 5 and 10 every week. They rotated through my STEM lab the same way they went to like art and PE and music and that sort of thing. And everything was very hands-on. So even with the most meticulous cleaning I could manage, I was getting sick a lot. Yeah. And when I get sick harder and weirder than most people do. Yeah. And so I realized at the end of last school year, like in April, May of 2024, like I wasn't going to be able to return in that capacity. Yeah. And I've been in education my entire life. Yeah. And like loved it and was very good at it. Yeah. And so that was heartbreaking. But at the same time, I was like, okay, let's try to view this as an opportunity. Like, what can I do that will still feel like I'm having like an impact on my community, where I'll still be able to pursue things that are really important to me, like supporting the queer community, supporting the BIPOC community, supporting the disabled community, which like I basically became a part of this year. Yeah. And I was just like, what is it? What do we need? Like, what's an unmet need in these communities that I care about? And like, it brought me back to here. It made me think of this. And fortunately, I still do get to work with the children part-time. I do after-school STEM clubs now, and I see like 50 kids a week.
That's better than 500.
Instead of 550. Yeah. And love them so much. It's amazing. It's absolutely incredible. A lot of people have asked me, like, do you want PlayMore Charlotte to become a full-time thing? And I'm like, I know a lot of people want me to want that, but no, because I love working with children. You love working with the kids. As much as I am passionate about adults playing more, I also, like, children are so over-tested and so dismissed and so stigmatized. And like, going back to what we were talking about, neurodivergent kids, a lot of kids are written off before they're ever even listened to. And so like, I want to still be present in that area for those children. And just selfishly, it's super fun. Children are hilarious. And like, being a science teacher or a STEM teacher is the best. Yeah. Because we just play. We play. Like, we build and we play and we do experiments and we make meaningful messes. And like, all I need is a school bus and a lizard on my shoulder. And I have the wardrobe. Miss Frizzle. I am Miss Frizzle. Yeah. I would have loved you as a kid. It's really fun. Needed a you. I was dismissed. I was for sure dismissed. I was super hyper and I wanted to be in everything, but then I would also withdraw and I couldn't focus. Stuff was rough as a kid and I didn't want to go back home. But I also didn't know how to operate in the classroom either. Yeah. And I remember there was one teacher, Mrs. Helmer. I still know her. Oh, yay. I was in 4th and 5th grade with her. And she made time for me. Yeah. And the way I remember specifically, she did this test where she
tried to figure out if we tested better with or without music, but she gave us the opportunity to listen to music while we were testing. And I remember feeling so seen. Like, wait, what? I can have stimulation around me because I need it. Like, I can't handle this quiet ass classroom right now, and I hear the clock ticking, and
that's such a simple thing to let. That's such a simple thing.
Yeah, she was my best friend's mom. And I was at her wedding a couple years ago, and she was there, Mrs. Miller.
Oh, I bet that was the loveliest little reunion.
I loved it. She gave me the biggest hug, and I was like, yeah, so an ode to Miss Helmer out there. But I don't remember a ton of my teachers, but I remember her very well. And I think that's the thing is like what you're talking about is, so without going into a ton of my background, I was a nanny for 13 years. Oh,
really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was a nanny for 13 plus years. Then I started a national household staffing company. So I don't nanny anymore. And I used to love being around kids, but then I started getting burned out, to be honest. Yeah. But it was when my autoimmune really started kicking in, and I didn't have the capacity to offer the kids what they needed. Yeah. So I also had to find a sustainable business, and I come from a family of entrepreneurs, and I knew that if I could do this, I could make a way that, I got a bug in my eyeball. Get out.
The insect wants to be famous on the podcast. Are you okay, though?
Is it there? Is it gone? Is it in my eyelashes or in my eyeball?
I don't see it.
Awesome. Cool, because I'll just sit here thinking about it.
Still there? A phantom bug?
Oh, it's right there. Goodbye.
Bye. Thanks for stopping by.
Thanks for stopping by. That thing wanted it. It was like, you're talking about having emotional needs met? Can someone hug me right now? Can I have a butterfly kiss? Sure. Anyways, yeah, I really was not Miss Frizzle, but I was my own, I dressed up as Joy from like, Inside Out. Yeah. Yes, I definitely have pictures of that. Yeah. I did like Inside Out camps, and I did Grinch camps, and we did do a lot. I loved like science-based projects because they are fun. Like, they really are just blown up like bottles of things. Yeah. But I really enjoyed that for as long as I could. But then in 2020 with the pandemic, I could not be around the kids. Yeah. Like, I remember I was a newborn care specialist, and I was helping sleep condition a baby, and their family got COVID. And I remember just being like, this is my exit. And so while 2020 was horrifying, and I did lose family members.
Oh, it was so sorry.
Thank you. It was awful for so many people. It was also when I basically had no other choice. Yeah. Health-wise. And I pulled the trigger 100% and went 100% into my household staffing agency. And we expanded to do in-home school. So we started placing governesses, teachers, like the pod schools, things like that. And then I was able to stay home. I work from home since 2020. I have run this company and been able to take care of myself through that. But it stemmed from, again, like you, not being able to be around germs, needing to protect my body. And also, honestly, I really don't like schedules like at all.
So I love schedules.
Do you?
But let me tell you how nervous I was to be moving into a less scheduled phase of life.
Interesting.
And how wonderful it has been.
Cool.
Because again, like I've been on a school schedule my entire life that I can remember, like student into teacher. And this year, like transitioning, the only schedule that I have now is the schedule that I make.
Wow, yeah.
And so I do my after school clubs on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. And so that's like a time when there are people waiting for me. I am responsible for being at a place at a time. But other than that, it's like if I book a PlayMore event and I have the prerogative to book that or not. And the rest of like all of the bookkeeping and record keeping and like all the correspondence and communication for my after school clubs and for PlayMore is on my own time. Yeah. And I wasn't sure. I was afraid it was going to make my brain itch, right? Because I like a to-do list, right? I like being able to check boxes. And I was like, it's just going to be there's going to be too much time.
There's too much time.
Almost. And what I found, In the immortal words, I hope you'll get this reference.
Yes.
I'll sing it for you.
Oh, I'm here. Please.
In the immortal words of Marshmallow featuring Usher.
Yeah, I need you to sing this.
There's no such thing as too much. There is such thing as too much. But there's no such thing as too much time. Because like what I learned especially from being very, very ill earlier this year is that like I have to rest.
Yeah.
And that rest is like a good thing.
Yeah.
And I think long ago I unsubscribed to like the whole hustle culture bullshit because that's like incredibly dangerous. And I'd seen how dangerous that was for a lot of people in my life and for myself.
Sure.
But because I had like my mind runs like a hamster wheel. So like I think really quickly and I work really quickly. So I just keep like going and going and going and I get excited. So I keep going and going and going. And earlier this year, I had long COVID and my body was just like, stop. Yeah. Like you can't go anymore. And even through like recovering and like being treated, my body is very different than it used to be. And I have to like schedule rest. I've had to learn to like make it a priority. And it kind of goes hand in hand with what I do with PlayMore because I feel like people need to, some people come by it naturally, but some people need to schedule play and prioritize play and like make it a value, like make it something that they put on their list of like, this is healthy for me. This is something that I need. This is a physiological need. Yeah. And so having this like less rigid schedule where like I'm the one making the decisions about my schedule, I'm not necessarily like beholden to the school year schedule quite as much, has actually been amazing because I have the space to have like, if there's a day that I'm not feeling well, I have the space to have that day without having to write sub-plans, without having to, communicate to however many parents of however many students. And it's just, it has given me the flexibility that I need to be able to like live a more balanced life that works for my body as it is now. Sure. And that also lets me do, like, I joked about it all last school year. Like, I'm going to quit my job and do play day professionally. And now it's like, I have time. Yeah. So I'm just going to try. Yeah. Like, let me just see if I can make PlayMore Charlotte a thing.
I love that.
And like, I didn't know if it was going to work. And it's like, so far it's working. So I'm just like.
So good.
Nobody breathe. It's working so far.
The podcast is over. Stop breathing.
And it's but it's given me space to do stuff, and I don't think I had ever like imagined a life this unstructured for myself before. And it is, I still make I just make the structure now. Sure. It's still very bullet pointed. Yeah. But I'm also a lot more gracious towards myself. Like if something on the to-do list doesn't get done, just move it to another day. Which is like, for my brain, it's just like, could we have been doing this all along? Sure. And because like, I've never been a procrastinator. I'm like, it's on the list. We have to do it. It's on the list for today. We do it today. And it's just like, it's a whole new world. I could sing to you again.
That's my favorite song. It's a whole new world.
Right. It's a new fantastic point of view.
Dazzling places I never knew.
Exactly. You just tell me if you want me to take a Latin or Jasmine and I'm ready. But yes, it's actually been a really lovely thing.
That's good. So scheduling play, I think that is really beautiful. And it seems like kind of what I was hearing you talk about is making room for yourself. Yeah. Like that's essentially what you've done. Mm-hmm. And I think we live in a society where little robots were raised a certain way to be very in this box, white picket fence, 9 to 5, retire. Right. You work to retire.
And you don't live or enjoy yourself until then.
And right. No, you go on cruises when you're old. Right. Exactly. Or whatever. And that just feels like a really sad way to live because we really aren't promised tomorrow. Right. I mean, especially I assume you can relate with part of your story, which I'd love to learn more about. But having health issues is a really big reminder that we're not promised tomorrow. Yeah. And I think that's been like the driving force for me as well, is like, if we don't slow down, our bodies will slow us down for us.
100%. Yeah.
So would you rather maybe have the choice?
Like, right, exactly. And it's like, it seems so common sense.
Yeah.
But like when you're caught up in this societal expectation, this like treadmill that we're all on, like you don't give yourself time to think about it, because you're just like, go, go, go. And I don't know, what's wild for me is that when, like, if I really, really deeply think about like, where did that sort of like impetus to just go, go, go come from for me? It's just me. Sure. Like, it's also what I'm absorbing from society, sure. But like, I've told a lot of people this in like the origin story of PlayMore. I grew up with very silly, loving, playful people. Yeah. So like, I was incredibly fortunate in my childhood that I had a role model. I had 2 role models of like, you can be a responsible adult that cares for people and also be deeply silly. Yes. And so like, I wasn't, it's not like I grew up with like really intense, strict workaholic parents. I didn't. Yeah. That's just, I was, even in school, like I was a really serious student. Yeah. But I did 1,000 things. I did theater. I did like choir. Yeah. I did all these things and I fit it all in, but I just like went super hard on everything all the time.
But isn't that part of like being a multifaceted human? I mean, we're all complex, and like, I think there's more room for different pieces of us, right? Like have spoken at national conferences, but I'm also sitting in here with a ball pit, right? And like, anytime we go on like trips and stuff, I'm, doing cartwheels and climbing the playground. Yeah. But I also work with billionaires that are like,
you can take multitudes.
I do. That's the thing, is like, when you start making room for yourself and you don't have to mask who you are or make yourself smaller to make other people feel comfortable, or like you're fitting into a certain box that makes them feel a certain way. Life just it's quite a lot easier to breathe. And I used to lose sleep over making someone uncomfortable.
Yeah, same.
I don't want to hurt anyone, but I'm also not going to dim my light to make someone comfortable. Yeah. Or let you walk all over me. Like, which a lot of people with health stuff, autoimmune specifically, I would say, had some sort of traumatic experience or, something that triggered that gene or whatever it might have been. I mean, so I just think there's something beautiful and very scientific about regulating your nervous system through play.
Yeah, 100%. And there's more and more research on it. Like, that we've known for years that like children learn through play, connect through play, heal sometimes through play. But it's like we just decided that like you turn 18 and you just don't, that doesn't work anymore. And that's just, that makes absolutely no sense. First of all, just like on a very superficial level. But then like when you look into the actual neurological basis of it, it deeply makes no sense. And like the Fred Rogers Institute, which I love so much for the work they do for kids, but they have started investigating a lot into like the benefits of play for adults too.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm just obsessed. Like, I cannot get enough of every little snippet that they share on their social media. I'm like, yes, Fred Rogers Institute.
Yes.
Tell me more.
Okay.
Yeah, I think for me, for a long time, I thought if I thought that I wasn't going to be able to have time to like do the things I wanted to do for other people if I took the time to stop for myself. And we've talked about this before, that we have a lot of shared values and they're like a lot of marginalized communities that we either overlap with or that we have people that we're very close to that exist in them. And even like in my work with children, like, it was really super important to me to be like the most fun, most compassionate, like the teacher that, one thing that always blows their minds is they'll be building something and they'll be like, I can't reach it anymore. I just wish I could, if only I could stand on a chair. And I'm like, what if I told you you can.
You can. Yeah.
Stand on a chair.
Yeah.
And they were just like, we're at school.
Yeah.
I can't stand on a chair. And I was like,
yes, you can.
Says who?
Says
like,
who?
I'm in charge in this room. and our number one agreement is ask for what you need. So, like, ask for what you need right now. And so they ask, can I stand on the chair? I'm like, yes, stand on the chair. Like, don't do a backflip off the chair. I don't want you to get hurt, but like, sure. And if you need to do something, if you need to take a risk and you're nervous about it, tell me and I'll come stand there so that if you fall, I will literally catch you as you fall off the chair. And like, it was really important to me to be that teacher for so many people. And I think I thought that I thought it was mutually exclusive, right? I thought like I had to just like go hard at all these things if I was going to be able to show up in the capacity I wanted to show up for, whether it was in that way or like in advocacy or in like donating to things that were important to me, like that I have to always prioritize these other things. Yeah. And I've just realized that was false. That just isn't true. And I've realized that like when, especially actually on days that I have like a huge to-do list, and we've covered how important that to-do list is to my brain, right? My brain will catch on fire if we just ignore the to-do list. But if I like rest, if part of the to-do list is rest or part of the to-do list is play, like the to-do list gets done easier. The to-do list gets done without like, which blows my mind. It seems, it's just so counter to how I've operated for a lot of my life. I've been so go. Yeah. And I've found that like I can still have the energy and like the passion and I can still do the things that I care about and care for the people I care for and more capably perhaps. Yeah. Because I've slowed down a little bit. And I thought it would be counterintuitive. I think all my life I just sort of assumed that it was like, choose yourself or choose other people. And like it has to be both. It actually has to be both.
So many people, including myself, found out the hard way that more you continue to choose others and put yourself aside, the quicker path to burnout. Yeah.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And I feel like it's brought me to meet like lovely people who share my values. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like in giving myself the time and the space to like explore what PlayMore Charlotte could be, the people I have met in this community, I'm like, I didn't know y'all were here. And it's so wonderful to know that like that community already exists. Like that it's not that we're building a community, it's that we're like finding the community that's waiting for you. Yeah. And there are so many people like that want on a local level in Charlotte to do things in our community to help like queer kids feel safe. Yeah. To make sure that like Black history is still being taught in schools, regardless of whatever is about to happen. Yeah. In like education at large, like to make sure that women are still safe and respected and have as much bodily autonomy as they can. Like there are people, like we forget the bad is so loud that like you have to have like personal connections and personal conversations with people that are working on the good to remember that it's there. And I feel like I've been able to find those people by taking the time to like slow down and look around. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
like, beautiful. Collaborate with people.
Collaboration itself, I think, is such a foreign concept to so many people because it's like, this is mine, that's yours. Like there's a lot of people that I've encountered that are like, no, this is my thing. That's your thing. I don't necessarily see the crossover or they're afraid because they've been hurt by others or you just have different values, whatever it might be. But the more I have, or thinking of myself, there's a control aspect.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. For me too.
Right?
Yeah.
But when we make, part of that control comes with controlling the environment so you're safe, right? Based on whatever we've experienced in our lives. I'm learning that collaboration can be really beautiful and impactful, and in the understanding that humans will human. Yeah. People will people. And I do have room for grace, but using the lens that I've learned from the mistakes I've made in the past, or the experiences I've had in the past, as a way to actually start taking the bricks down from the wall that I created to keep people out. Because like you said, everyone's looking for each other.
Yeah.
We can't find each other if we just keep trying to full-heartedly wall up
ourselves in.
And that's hard work.
Yeah.
It's really hard work. Especially when, we're two white women that I'm saying I've had it hard, and I have in my own way.
Right.
But we're not necessarily a marginalized community, right?
Yeah.
So it's just a different world. And so I part of even doing this podcast too is like, I want to know people. I want to hear their stories. I want to create a safe space, and I want to invite and be open to exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. Right.
And like providing a platform or whatever it might be, but really just creating those, like, this podcast isn't like the Leigh show. It's literally like everything that I could fathom out there right now that is kind of going wrong. I want to showcase what's going right.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Hope is a really powerful thing. And you reminded me of that when you said, like, we're out there, we're here.
Yeah.
I felt, I'm going to go heavy for a minute.
Yeah.
But I felt really, really, really scared when I found out that my reproductive rights could be shifted. And I cried for like 2 days. I had a hard time sleeping. I am child-free by choice and with autoimmune. Like, I literally could not chase a kid around and make sure that they had a great life. Couldn't. It's not fair to them.
Yeah.
Also, I will only get sicker.
Yeah. I understand this deeply. Also child-free by choice, but also I love children, but I think about my genetic makeup and I'm like, here's the thing. I am awesome. I'm so cute and charming. I have a lot of great things going for me. I don't want anybody else to have to deal with the genetic hand that I have been dealt.
Well, and
there are many, many other reasons for me as well. But I relate to that deeply.
Yeah. It's hard. I've thought about that part of it too, is like, still haven't figured out all the things that are going on with my body. And, there's been months where I was not functioning.
Yeah.
Could not get out of bed or walk 5 feet, or someone had to help me shower. Like, and then of course I just, and I can't do like birth control. Like it messes me up so bad. I get so sick.
Yeah.
So I literally just I felt hopeless and scared and obsessive.
Yeah.
I couldn't stop researching things and, what am I going to do? How do I protect myself? What if this happens? Oh my gosh. I spent 15 years trying to become the me I am now and get better and healthier.
Yeah.
And now with that could just if I don't have a choice to protect my body in the way that works for me, that could all just be gone in the blink of an eye. And the anxiety-induced experience that I had was so not good. But being reminded that there's been, and so honestly, and that just, let's be honest, that is probably the first thing aside from trauma as a white woman with absolute privilege that I've experienced, part of my privilege being taken away.
Absolutely. And I think that's been an interesting cognitive experience for me this year as well, even before the election, just with experiencing illness at the level that I did this year. I've had allergies and have had autoimmune stuff all my life. And in my 20s, I was just a medical mystery being passed around to various people for various things. And people just kept telling me to stop eating stuff. It's stop eating gluten, stop eating dairy, stop eating every 3 years. It's just a different doctor would make me do an elimination diet. And they'd be like, this irritates this part of your body. This irritates that part of your body. But we were never really getting anywhere. It was just I was ill a lot. But not at the level, but I kept going. I was still go. I had not reached the level yet where I had to stop. And it's like a new, I hear what you're saying, like talking about like our privilege as white women, because all my life, I feel like I've had a lot of people of color in my life growing up, and have been very fortunate in that, and was also raised by people that sort of recognized privilege before that was a word that we were using.
Sure.
And I'm just like immensely grateful for that. But I have known, you know, that like there are people in the world that are like, if I'm having a rough day, like somebody is having it rougher because of nothing that they did, just simply because they exist and because someone hates them for things that are not only beyond their control, but that are just like
ridiculous,
neutral, positive aspects of their identity. There's it's not like they did something wrong.
Yeah.
You know, this is who they are. They're just being hated for who they are. I've been aware of that for, I think, a while. And, you know, increasingly so as I've gotten older and have like understood political things more. But like becoming as ill as I was earlier this year, and also being in a position where like I as a result of long COVID, my body completely lost its ability to produce serotonin.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Yeah. And we didn't know that's what was going on at first.
That's the happy stuff.
Right. So I had COVID previously, and had also been quite ill about 2 months after that. And we didn't recognize that as what it was at the time. And then like a year and a half or so passed, and I got COVID again at the beginning of 2024 this year. And like took it wasn't Paxlovid, I couldn't take that because of contraindication with another medicine. It was molnupiravir.
Okay.
I remember the name of it because I wrote a parody to Alanis Morissette's Uninvited about molnupiravir because it made me vomit so much.
I love that you wrote a parody about that.
I think it was called Unexcited.
Unexcited.
I was unexcited to take the molnupiravir.
Oh my goodness.
That's why I remember, because I sang about it. But I was okay. Like the medicine made me sick, but then I got better, right? Like COVID's over, hooray. 2 weeks later, I woke up in the middle of the night shaking. And like it was during puzzle week at school. It was like the most low key week in the STEM lab, like low stress. It was like we celebrate International Puzzle Day, and it's just this very mellow vibe in the STEM lab. It was right after my birthday, so I just had like all of these lovely people pouring into me and celebrating
like
me.
you had like a bunch of stress.
Right. It was like a happy time, and woke up at 3:00 in the morning in the middle of the night shaking, and was just like, am I cold? Like, what is happening? And it started like moving around my body, and then it became my whole body, and it was like I was convulsing. But never lost consciousness. So I'm like, you know, I woke up my partner. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. It's not a seizure because I'm present, but like write down what time this started just in case. And, I have panic disorder. And so I was like, is this just the most dramatic panic attack I've ever had in my life? And if it is, what in the world, what am I panicking about? Like I thought I was in like a good headspace. So I'm like, what's going on?
Was your heart racing at all?
I don't remember, to be honest with you. I was really probably because I started to panic because I was shaking. So I woke up shaking, and at first thought I was cold. And then I was like, but I'm not cold. Yeah. So what is going on? And then it got really, like convulsing, like Exorcist. Like,
oh my goodness.
Yeah. And then I got scared and got panicky. But what was really wild is that I then started stuttering. And when I started stuttering, I was like, I don't know if I'm having a stroke. We need to go to the hospital.
Goodness.
So we went to the hospital, and it continued, but stopped for maybe like 10 minutes and then started again. And it kept doing that for like the next 6 weeks of my life. They did all the scans, they did all the things, they did all the blood work, your labs look good.
Oh, that's my favorite. They're like, your labs look great, and, like, you're not dying
and
right
I'm
now.
Like, I am convulsing, but okay.
Yeah.
And they told me they thought it was stress. And I was actually willing to, that didn't feel dismissive to me at first. Because at first I was like, I am a deeply anxious person. And like, I do have panic disorder, and it had been very well controlled for many years. So I was like, again, I don't understand why it's coming out right now. Yeah. But I was like, okay, let me talk to my therapist about this. And my therapist was like, I don't think this is just stress. And and like, I don't want to say just stress, because I do respect the profound impact that it has on us physiologically as well. But she was like, I think there is something else going on here. Like somebody needs to give you more care and attention than this. And the neurologist that I went to was my first really heavy experience with like medical sexism, where I was just so dismissed so quickly and was literally equated to a child. He was like, this is like when a child has a stomach ache because their parents are getting divorced.
No.
We don't tell them that their stomach doesn't hurt, but they don't have a stomach bug. So this is just your body. This is just you know, having a stomach ache. That was how he explained to me.
How far did your head tilt?
What, right?
I'm just really curious. Can you show me how far your head tilted? Head tilted.
Pretty far. And it was one of those moments, to take this way back to how this tangent began, where I was like, oh, so many women of color in my life have been treated like this every single time they've gone to the doctor, all their lives. So many people that I know that, you know, way more than I do, have been treated this way every single time they've gone to the doctor all of their lives. And even though I knew that intellectually before all of this happened, like my own privilege as a able-bodied, until this point, white woman who had been sick and had weird stuff going on, but like had always had access to healthcare, had always had transportation and access to a doctor. Like all of these things that I knew other people didn't have, it still really hit me, like emotionally, like not just intellectually, but emotionally. In that moment. Like, oh, like this is what it feels like to be oppressed. Like, how fortunate for me as a white woman that I haven't experienced it more. I mean, I certainly have in other ways experienced sexism, but to have it happen like from a person who's literally being paid to care for me. You're supposed to be here to tell me what's wrong.
Don't even get me started on
that. And got passed around to a couple of people, but ultimately ended up with this like super team of all women healthcare providers.
Hell yeah.
That were like, this is not psychogenic.
Amazing.
This is not consistent with this, and this, and this. And for a while they were like, it might be functional neurological disorder. I didn't know what that was. I learned what it was and was like, it might be that. And they were like, okay, the fact that you can like accept emotionally that it might be that is positive and like bodes well for you. Also, we don't think it's just that. We think there's something else going on, because that is largely psychological and is something that I would need like more psychological leaning treatment for. But they poured through research for me, like poured through this amazing team of women, literally on their lunch break, poured through research for me and found all of these studies, long COVID, like ongoing, some of them not even published yet, about people that were shaking and stuttering about 2 weeks to a month after having had COVID. And the sort of hypothesis that it was a result of like intense serotonin depletion. Like your body's just completely void of serotonin, and it's almost like a withdrawal. And if you look up just serotonin withdrawal, like if somebody was on an SSRI and then stopped, stuttering, shaking, dizziness, all of these things that I dealt with are symptoms of serotonin withdrawal. And so basically my body was just in like really, really intense serotonin withdrawal. Oh my goodness. And it took about 6 weeks for them to figure that out. So just a lot of shaking and stuttering for about 6 weeks. Consistent stuttering. The stuttering didn't stop at all for 6 weeks once it started. The shaking would stop, but would come back. I mean, I'd shake like 7 hours a day with breaks, but like it would stop for like 10 minutes or an hour. So it would come back. But when they finally started me on like an SSRI, and they had to do it delicately because my mental health history is colorful and I have had really, really bad reactions to, you mentioned with birth control, most SSRIs make me throw up or make me really dizzy. So they had to like very slowly taper me on. And like all of this is happening when I'm supposed to be at school teaching children, right? And I couldn't, like I was on short-term disability. And like slowly I started to get better. It was absolutely amazing the first day that I didn't stutter.
Wow.
That was like, because I agree with you, communication is one of the things I treasure most in my life.
Wow.
And so that was a really big deal, the first time I could speak fluently. And then I started having longer stretches without shaking. And I finally got cleared to go back to school with 3 weeks left in the school year. I was there for a week wearing a mask. I had been wearing a mask this whole time prior to this as well, even though it was no longer popular to do so. But went back wearing a mask, caught some little virus. Like, it wasn't COVID again. It wasn't RSV. It wasn't flu. They tested me twice for all of that. Some little virus, had like a mild fever, like 99. Everything came crashing back because my body just can't handle it. And so they had to like adjust my doses of the various things that they had me on, because I was on an anticonvulsant as well, and still am in small doses. But I was able to, I was there for a week. I was out for a week again. And then I was able to go back for the last week of school. And that's when I had to be like, I can't be around this level of germ saturation anymore. But being like dynamically disabled for the first time in my life, like
the way you just used that, dynamically disabled. Interesting. Yeah.
Like, there are days that I'm like I am right now, and I'm able-bodied, and I'm so fortunate, and I can do most, if not all, of the things that I want to do. And then there are days that I just absolutely cannot. And now, like, my illness functions more like an alarm system now. So it's like, if I haven't been resting enough, or if I've been overexerting myself, if I haven't been eating enough. I also, through this process, they figured out some of the stuff that was going on in my 20s, which was amazing. They were like, you might also have POTS and mast cell activation syndrome. And I was just like,
same.
And it like explains everything that's ever happened to me.
Yeah.
Like, part of me is like, oh, this was a terrible life experience. But we also just solved 15 years of medical mystery.
So I had to like, I still don't know what's going on, but I had to like take research about POTS and bring it to someone and say, will you test me? And they said no. And I said, but I have insurance, and it's the best that like I can have. Again, like, I have an experience. I've had good insurance. I have no food insecurity. And so when people do say just stop eating, you know, whatever, or find this organic, only eat organic, and, you know, purified water and all this stuff, like, I can.
You can do it. And so many people can't do it.
Yeah. So in this kind of situation, what would you say, like, I don't know, if someone was in your situation, like, what kind of advice or support would you give them?
It's interesting that you asked me that, because my doctor recently told me that she has another patient with my exact same symptom.
Whoa.
And it is a child.
Oh my goodness.
It is a teenager. And obviously, without divulging any personal information about anyone, I am in contact with that person's mom. So that hopefully at some point, this just within the past week, this happened. Hopefully at some point there can be some sort of conversation where I can hopefully give some hope to this child.
Wow.
The great news is that because they figured out it took about 6 weeks, and they figured out what was going on with me, they immediately recognized it in her. So she was able to start her treatment sooner, which is great. She also has some other things. There are differences, you know, we have different bodies. So, but I've been thinking about that a lot for that reason. And I don't know if I've settled on an answer yet, because I get frustrated, and it was hard for me when I was super sick. I get frustrated with the toxic positivity.
Okay. Yeah.
Because it ends up being a lot of like, other people have it worse than you, so you can't feel your feelings. And I think that there has to be a balance between like what we've been talking about. I recognize the deep privilege that I have, and there are so many people that like this would have destroyed their lives.
Yeah.
And there would have been no bouncing back from it because of factors that are completely beyond their control. Like, recognizing that, I think, is super critical. But I also think that like you have to let yourself feel mad when you're mad, and sad when you're sad. And you have to remember that you also deserve to do more than survive. Like,
which is why you started PlayMore.
Yeah. Because I genuinely believe that we all deserve to rest and play more. Like you shouldn't have to earn joy. That is like the reason that like we are not alive to just work like a cog in a wheel. Like we're alive to connect. And play helps us put ourselves in like a slightly more vulnerable place, I think, where like we have some of the vulnerability we had as a kid on the playground, where we're just like open to new connections. And so, like, I don't know. I guess that's my long answer to say I don't know yet what advice I would give, because you don't want somebody to stay in a doom and gloom space. That isn't constructive either. You also don't want people who do have the privilege, like that we have as white women, to lose sight of that, because that's going to be important not only during the experience that they're having, but hopefully when they get through it, in like being able to give back and to use the experience like empathetically towards others. So I think both of those things are important. I also think it's really important to be like, it's okay to be scared. It's okay to be mad. Yeah. Like there isn't a wrong way to feel. And like, if you just need to feel sad and scared and mad today, that's fine. Yeah. It's okay.
Yeah. I think that's beautiful. And I think that, you are an incredible human.
Thank you.
Truly.
Sweet of you. Thank you. And ditto.
Oh, thank you.
Ditto. I'm really glad you're in the ball pit and my background today.
Yay. I might move in with you.
That's totally fine. Come over. As you saw, my guest room is full of ball pit stuff, but there is a bed in there. You can claw your way through.
Perfect. Just learn to swim in the ball pit.
Yeah. Just push your weight past the STEM club stuff.
Roller coaster club is in this.
Like, you will never be at a loss for toys. That is the truth.
That is so funny.
At my house.
Speaking of toys,
we haven't played with this yet.
Really? Just like booked you in the face.
You need to put it on like an astronaut. I feel like we just had some very heavy conversations.
We did. So I think we need to play. We need to play more.
Oh! I was trying to get it in without hitting you, and I succeeded.
You did.
I told you that there were some things hidden in here that I didn't want to tell you about. But now I kind of want you to know that they're there so you can look for them. Can I tell you what's in here?
Well, I feel like I do want to know that, but there... Oh. I'm looking for that. There was something I saw earlier, and I was super curious about it. It looks kind of like that.
It wasn't a...
Oh! Oh. Why is there a hot dog in here?
This is not a hot dog.
It is.
This is a chocolate sprinkle.
It's not. It's a hot dog.
This is a chocolate sprinkle. These are rainbow sprinkles.
It actually makes more sense when you put them together.
It does. It makes a lot more sense when you have the whole pantheon of color.
I mean...
Here's a pink one.
Yes.
A lot of people find the brown one and the red one. Oh, and actually, there's a whole cluster of hot dogs for you.
Literally hot dogs. These are what
many people say that.
That's what they get in their like play sets for like cooking.
Okay. Now that you frame it like that, yes, it does look like.
See?
It does. It does not look like a real hot dog to me, but it does look like a play set hot dog. I called it cooker stuff when I was little.
So you thought I literally thought this looked like a hot dog?
So many people get in the ball pit and they're like, why is there a hot dog in here? I don't know. My mind never registered it as a hot dog because I knew it was a sprinkle and I put it in the ball pit. So I don't know. I don't know what I thought.
They can be both. All right, they can be both.
You two contain multitudes.
All right, what else you got?
There are 2 rubber ducks.
What?
Hidden in here, and they're large, but they're not just rubber ducks. They are rubber duck cryptid hybrids. So one of them is a unicorn rubber duck.
What?
And the other one is a dragon rubber duck.
If I like dive in here,
please do. Please submerge.
Am I going to ruin
I didn't think about the sound.
Solving.
Luke is on it.
This is going to be very loud.
I can't get my knees on the ground.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to shimmy to reach
the
bottom of the ball pit. There's a blue one and a pink one.
So I found a mushroom.
You found a mushroom. There are a lot of mushrooms as well. Did you find one? You found the blue one.
This is great. We call this duck. It's a dragon duck?
It's a dragon duck.
It's literally a dragon duck.
Look at its little teeth on its bill.
All right, I found the blue one.
If you see a Lego, don't be alarmed. They are squishy Legos.
They're squishy,
not the real ones that will like lacerate you to the bone. Okay, they're not pointy. I would never make someone sit on real Legos.
I really like this color.
Oh, that is beautiful. That's sort of a cloud.
Also, you have a Lisa. That's Lisa Frank.
It is.
That's Lisa Frank.
It is. It's from Etsy. You can find everything on Etsy.
Can I touch it?
Yeah.
It's my childhood.
Right? Mine too.
Oh my God. I loved Lisa Frank. Did you have her stickers?
I was obsessed with Painter Panda. Yeah, I was a Painter Panda girl. I was obsessed with pandas, actually. So when a panda came along in rainbow overalls, I was like...
I'm curious if you can feel your feet. Or
I can, but I have on really, really... I'm going to visit friends in Chicago next weekend, so I just bought new socks.
That's amazing.
Have you lost feeling in your feet? Are they so cold?
I don't have extremities anymore.
Oh no.
It's fine. It's just part of life.
Do you have Raynaud's phenomenon?
I do. Okay. I do have Raynaud's. Yes. One time I was at the Biltmore and it started snowing and all of a sudden I couldn't feel my toe anymore, which is ironic because I've already lost one.
Oh my goodness.
So not because of Raynaud's though.
Okay.
But I couldn't feel it. And it was the same toe but on the other side. And I'm like, what is happening right now? And that was the first time I realized I had Raynaud's. And my toe was completely white. And I was like, I'm not losing another toe. And I was like warming it up. Yeah. Be careful on escalators, by the way.
Why?
Because that's how I lost my toe.
Oh my goodness. That's terrible.
It is.
That sounds so violent and traumatic.
Maybe that's why I
forgot what we were doing because I'm imagining you losing a toe.
Well, we can stop because it's a lot.
It's a lot, and you're getting really cold.
I could like live in here.
It's really great. I have one of my life goals is to get in as many different types of ball pits as I can.
Okay.
I have been in a real Lego pit, which was not comfortable at all.
A Lego pit.
Don't recommend. My little geeky Lego heart was thrilled to be there, but my body was like, "This is prickly."
Do you want to know how I don't like being unkind to people, but if I'm going to, do you want to know what I say?
I do want to know, please.
Go step on Legos.
Go step on Legos. So again, I don't recommend the Lego pit for that reason. It's very painful. I've been in a marshmallow pit. It wasn't real marshmallows. I wouldn't have been able to handle
just got really... Oh, are you allergic to marshmallows?
No, it was just... It'd just be too sticky.
Sticky.
It'd be too sticky.
Not a fan of stickiness. So what's your next... you just did a big event.
I did. In November, we had our first adults only play day. We're doing that again.
Okay, tell me about that.
We're doing it on March 8th. We're doing it later. Our first one was at 9:00 in the morning on a Saturday. And there was like a lot of very specific rationale behind that decision, and none of it makes sense in retrospect. Because it was too early. Yeah,
because I wanted to go and then I saw it was at 9 and I don't wake up till like 11.
Well, great news. On March 8th, we're doing it from 11 to 3. So even if you wake up at 11, you can come at noon, still going to have 3 hours of the event.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, we don't know where we're doing it yet. We're in talks with a couple of different people. So I can't say yet.
Oh.
I really have my fingers crossed for one in particular, so we'll see. But I'm partnering with the same people I did last time. So Jasmine Vialese from Dancing Lotus Yoga and Arts. And then Lakaya Hicks from Home Place Retreats.
I'm in contact with her, by the way. Thank you for that. Yes.
So you know.
Thank you for that. I am in contact with them.
Yeah. They are wonderful people and really helped bring, coming from like a yoga and a retreat sort of, coming from the background that both of them come from, they did a lot to balance like the high energy play with like rest and peace. And also some of like the social healing elements of it. And it was so neat. We had a woman who didn't have tickets. She just wandered by. We were in Victoria Yards in Uptown for the first event. Super beautiful. And she was just wandering by and was like, what is happening in there? There's a parachute. There are people roller skating. There's like, what is going on? There's a DJ. So she comes in to ask, like, what is this? And one of our volunteers was right there at the ready to tell her what was going on. And she was in town from Ontario.
Wow.
Her husband was at like some work conference and she was just wandering around Uptown for the day with no plan. And so she came in and had the absolute time of her life. We had the dino do-gooders there who bring inflatable suits.
Yeah, I saw that.
Everywhere they go.
I'm going to need to be friends with them.
They're amazing.
Okay,
They're the
perfect.
greatest people. She was in this woman was in a dino suit within 10 minutes of coming in. She was doing the parachute. She was playing silent disco musical chairs. And she ended her time over in the home place retreats corner, which is really like Lakaya's baby, right? So there's turf, there's hammocks, there's foot massagers, there's bubbles and coloring books. It's just super cozy. Yes. And so this lovely woman finished her time with us there. And when she got up to leave, she came and found me, and it was just the loveliest conversation. Both of us had tears in her eyes, and she told me just how much it had meant to her to prioritize her own play and rest, and that it had given her time to reflect on some positive changes she had made in her life recently, and to feel supported by total strangers in that. And that was one of those things where I was okay, this is working. Look at it, it's working.
Yes.
It's working. We got to keep doing it. So we're going to do it again. It'll be in March, on March 8th. I am also doing something totally different.
Yes.
Prominently featuring the Ball Pit. I am doing what I'm calling the Ball Pit Meet Cute series.
Oh.
It is speed friending. Not speed dating,
gosh,
but speed friending.
what?
If people fall in love in the Ball Pit, great. But romance is not our objective.
Yes.
Connection and community.
Yes.
I'm working with Sip City over in Plaza Midwood. And
yes, they're right by my, I think they're very close to my tattoo shop.
Oh, yes. There is a tattoo shop right there.
Yeah.
And they're wonderful people. And I'm doing 3 speed friending events where, again, the objective is just to play, to kind of put your guard down and put the pretense and the bullshit of adulthood down and just be who you are deep inside, and play with Legos, or, play board games, or have have something to do with your hands.
Yes.
So that if you don't like to make continuous eye contact, or you don't like to, if you don't know what to do with your hands, you have something to do for that awkwardness buffer. And hopefully it'll help, more playful people find each other. And I'm also doing a sticker play shop. We're calling it a play shop instead of a workshop. Also at Sip City with Erica Rose of Erica Rose Coaching. All the things, so many things.
I'm really proud and impressed by you.
Thank you.
Truly.
Thank you so much.
You are doing a beautiful thing, and I'm really, 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 really excited to see how you continue to grow. And
thank you so much.
Yeah. And thank you for spending time with me.
Yeah, thanks for coming. It was so fun to tell people today I'm being interviewed at Ball Pit in my backyard. I'm a very important businesswoman now. I'm being interviewed in the Ball Pit.
Pinky's out. Pinky's out. Oh, I heard that you let people sign these.
Yes.
Can I
please sign it?
Okay.
Hold on. What color do you want, or what colors do you want?
Well,
I have them all.
What do you?
I don't have them all. I don't think I have pink.
I like purple.
Okay, me too.
I'm not surprised.
Purple people always find each other.
Purple.
I love purple.
As long as we're not the purple people eaters.
Right. I'm not.
Good.
Promise.
Perfect.
Also, you can use more than one color if you like.
I can use.
You can use whatever colors you desire. I'm going to make them a little nest right here.
Okay. I still need to, work on my famous signature. I still do cursive from when I was
in third grade.
Me
too.
Yeah.
I have a very legible signature.
Yeah. Leigh.
Which I've learned that most people don't. Most people just scribble, but it's a consistent scribble. I don't know how they do that.
I don't know how to do a consistent scribble. Can I have I'd like a yellow maybe?
Yellow?
Thank you.
This stuff is lovely though.
Thank you. But that's pretty messy compared to my grandma and my mom.
Do they have calligraphy?
Calligraphy level.
Mine is also, I feel similar to this. Mine's been the same since I learned how to do it.
I don't know what I'm gonna draw a duck.
No, perfect.
I'm gonna draw a duck.
Hashtag duck culture.
I honestly
feel like I'm gonna have to Google that before I commit to it.
Maybe
there could be sides of duck culture that we don't understand.
You're right. You could be inviting. I mean, it's it's just like pineapples have their own reason.
Right.
You just don't know what
you don't know until you know.
Until you know, and you just really want to know that you want that.
Exactly.
Before you put that out there.
Yep. I agree.
So we can do some research.
You can still draw a duck. It's totally
I actually don't know how to draw.
Wait, where did the ducks go?
I'm
Could
gonna
look at one for
I guess
reference.
like a circle at the bottom, maybe.
Whatever you draw, I will accept it as a duck. So,
And
like a little
and it goes like a
triangle, a little swooshy tail,
a triangle,
like a little tapered triangle tail. It's a little duck tail. I'm imagining like a rubber duck.
I just want you to know
That is such a duck right there.
it's like a submarine.
It does look like a submarine. It does. You're right.
Oh no, don't lose that.
There probably are
Maybe
if
you have like a black, I can put a nose on it, or an orange.
You could label it with the word duck. Just to be
do that.
Crystal clear.
Listen, if you need anyone to teach people how to
try to draw duck
at any of your events,
yes. When we do our sticker art workshop, be like, also with duck drawing lessons.
Look!
Okay,
It
that
looks like
does
a duck
look more
now.
like a duck now. It
Okay.
does.
Who knew?
Just a few little lines to go from submarine to duck.
It's all about that finesse. And it can see now.
Oh no, it actually does look like a duck. Looks like a duck. You did it. We have to let it dry.
Don't throw it in here
so
yet.
that it won't must the duck. I'm gonna put it over here.
I'm gonna go ahead and say that that's one thing you probably should never wash. It's gonna be really important one day.
It's gonna be worth the big bucks.
It's gonna be
big bucks.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, I'm really grateful for you. Thank you for letting me join you in this amazing ball pit.
Thank you so much for coming.
And
it's been a delight. I'm so excited to see and hear who else you talk to and just the conversations that you have. It's gonna be really cool.
I'm excited. And we're about to start traveling in March consistently. So I think I'll have very interesting opportunities as we go, because we'll be within the US, but also globally. That's
going to be incredible.
I've really never met a stranger, so I feel like I can. It'll be fun. A really fun experiment and good time connecting with people from different backgrounds.
Yeah,
so.
that's going to be absolutely incredible. How long are you going to be gone?
We don't have an end date.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's the most exciting answer you could have given me.
No, we don't have an end date.
Oh, that's absolutely incredible. You're going to meet, I'm spilling Sharpies. You're going to meet so many fascinating folks.
Yeah, we both have work for ourselves.
Yeah.
And then we collaborate with each other.
Yeah.
So I've produced some of his shows before, and then he is obviously filming this.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
y'all have the flexibility to be on the move.
That's
do. Really cool.
Yeah. So yeah, starting in March, we're gonna hit the road, Jet.
But do come back into the ball pit whenever you want.
I love you. All right. Well, Luke, I don't know if we're leaving. I might just have to stay.
Y'all might live here now.
We might live here now.
Welcome.
Okay. And cut.